What if the map of our ancestors was drawn not by stars or seasons, but by the jaws that owned the night? If every step, every drink, every cradle of sleep had to thread between territories ruled by monsters, would migration be courage or calculation? Watch the line of bodies moving at first light and decide whether this is a journey or an evasion. Dawn lifts like a lid. A band of Australopithecus, broad-chested apes with dark thinking eyes flows through tawny grass in single file. No words. Meaning travels by glance, by hand, by the set of shoulders. Females carry infants slung at the hip. Juveniles pad along the edges, mimicking the careful caution of their elders. The matriarch leads with the logic of survival etched into bone knuckle-walking, in shade, bands pausing under acacia shadows to rise on hind limbs, scanning the plain with a stillness that silences even insects. She studies the ground the way others study the sky, reading not just where to go, but where not to be. A gouge in the soil where a saber-tooth rolled, a scatter of white hair snagged on thorn, a crescent of prints too wide for any leopard. Machairodus. The map folds closed. The band angles away. They move along a corridor chiseled by giants. Days ago, a herd of Dinotherium mowed a path through the grass, their massive bellies brushing seed heads, flat, their downward tusks carving gouges that now collect last night's dew. The apes stop at one of these shallow dents. Leaves are folded into green cups and pressed to the surface. Dew beads slide and pool. Small mouths drink. A juvenile learns by watching fold, scoop, tilt. The matriarch inspects a nearby shrub, bites a bitter stem, grimaces, and swallows anyway, medicine, not food. The band imitates selectively, copying not the face, but the choice. Knowledge survives because bodies do. The corridor narrows. On the left, heat hazes over open savanna. On the right river, reeds tremble with hidden breath. Open water is a promise and a trap. The band does not drink where the river shows teeth of light. They harvest moisture from grass, from shade, from the hollow of elephant prints. A flat stone is lifted and dropped onto a nut. Another hand repeats. Rhythm spreads along the line, thock, 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 soft as heartbeat, fast as hunger. These are not tools shaped by intention, but stones recruited by need. The difference now is survival. The difference later will become a species. A wind change carries news. It does not smell like rain. It smells like iron, like old meat, like sleeping cats. The matriarch stops so suddenly that the juveniles bump into her legs. Ahead, a fig tree leans over the river lip, heavy with green fruit. Beneath it, the ground is trampled in circles layered with paw marks that overlap like storm ripples. One print is the size of a face. Another is smaller but fresher edges, crisp pads clean. The figs are a lure placed by the land itself. The band waits. No one reaches. Eyes track the reeds. A crocodile's snout stitches a seam on the water, then unthreads itself and vanishes. A dragon without a story, only appetite. The corridor closes further. The choice is a wedge, risk the figs and the water, or sweep wide into the sun, where Machairodus rules the open with patient geometry. The matriarch turns her head. Spines rise along backs. They choose the sun. They choose the cat they can see only by what the grass will tell them. They move. The sun climbs flattening shadows into glare. The band spreads into a fan across the savanna, each body a thread in a net, stretched wide to catch warning signs. Juveniles crouch close to mothers, their eyes darting left and right. The males take the flanks' arms, swinging low, stones gripped tight, not as weapons of certainty, but as symbols of intent. They know stone against fang is unequal, but defiance itself has weight. The grass shifts first as breeze, then as something heavier. Ears swivel, shoulders stiffen. A low vibration moves through the ground, felt more than heard. Machairodus. The saber-tooth emerges not in haste, but in certainty. Its body is the width of 2 apes stacked its fangs, ivory blades honed by generations of predation. It does not roar, it breathes, and the band hears it as a verdict. The matriarch rises to full height, chest forward, hands lifted. She hurls her stone. It arcs short thuds into earth, but the gesture fractures silence. Others follow stones, launched dirt, lifted cries squeezed from throats. They are not weapons. They are noise, chaos, defiance. The cat halts its tail a pendulum. It does not charge. It waits, reading their resolve. The band closes ranks, infants pressed to the middle bodies, shoulder to shoulder. They are a wall, crude, but alive. The stalemate shatters when a juvenile stumbles. His foot snags in a burrow, his body topples forward, arms splayed. The cat lunges, silent and sudden, covering ground in heartbeats. A male intercepts his stone, lifted and smashed against the predator's muzzle. Fang cuts flesh, claws, rake shoulder, but the moment is purchased. The juvenile is yanked back, bleeding but breathing. Dust fills the air. The band surges with sound. Screams, rocks, branches torn and flung. The saber-tooth withdraws, not defeated, but delayed, muscles twitching with coiled promise. It vanishes into tall grass, leaving silence heavier than before. The injured male staggers, crimson painting his chest. The matriarch presses a leaf poultice to the wound, her hands steady, though her breath trembles. They know the cat is not gone. It is patient. It will circle. Dusk falls before they find shelter. A rocky outcrop rises from the plain, its base shaded by thorn bush, its flanks etched with cracks like doorways. They climb slow and deliberate, dragging infants, pushing the wounded. Inside, the rock's hollow shadows gather like kin. They arrange themselves in a circle, bodies pressed to stone, eyes to the dark. The matriarch chews bitter leaves, spits the paste into her palm, and smears it across the wounded male's shoulder. His face pinches, but he endures. Hunger prowls in bellies, but silence is stricter than appetite. Outside, the grass whispers. The predator has not forgotten. The night will be long. The night thickens alive with the pulse of predators. Owls sweep low, hyenas cackle at a distance, and somewhere beyond the reeds, a crocodile thrashes with unseen prey. Inside the rocky hollow, the band does not sleep as one. They take turns. One mother rocks her infant against her chest, humming a rhythm older than words. Another juvenile rolls small stones between his fingers, rehearsing the only shield he knows. The wounded male breathes shallow but steady, the poultice sealing red to brown. The matriarch stares into the dark gap at the cave mouth, every muscle taut with waiting. Time here is measured not by stars, but by heartbeats survived. Before dawn, thunder answers thunder, but it is not storm. It is the ground itself shuddering under the march of giants. Dinotherium return to the corridor, their tusks scraping bark, their bulk flattening grass into paths wide enough to carry a band of apes unseen. The matriarch signals. Bodies stir, children gathered, the wounded supported. They know predators avoid the feet of giants. They know this is their window. Moving as shadows clinging to shadows, they descend the rocks, sliding into the wake of the herd. Dust rises, cloaking scent and sound, masking their fragile trail. The saber-tooth prowls still, its prints fresh on the periphery, but even it hesitates at the thunder of tusks. The march becomes migration. Step by step, they slip through territories owned by jaws larger than their courage, threading a living needle between extinction and endurance. When at last the herd veers toward the river, the apes turn instead toward a stand of fig trees unmarked by claw. There beneath the broad canopy they stop. Stones are cracked again, fruits torn open, water gathered from cupped leaves. Hunger eases, fear exhales. The wounded male chews slowly, his eyes heavy but alive. A child mimics the matriarch's gestures, folding leaves, dripping water into her mouth. The act draws a ripple of sound, low, deep, something close to laughter. It spreads fragile yet defiant, until even the matriarch's lips curve. The danger is not ended. Predators still rule the paths, storms still shape the horizon. Hunger will always return. But for this moment, beneath figs heavy with promise, survival feels like triumph. They eat together, drink together, heal together. In their circle, something greater than fear is born: memory, a shared map not carved in stone, but carried in bone and blood, where to walk, where not to linger, how to face the monsters that claim the earth. This memory will outlast tooth and claw, carrying them beyond this night, beyond this season, beyond even this age. And as the sun breaks the horizon, painting the savanna in fire, the band moves again, not as prey fleeing predators, but as a story in motion, carrying forward the first whispers of what will one day be called humanity.